Hi everyone and welcome back. In this video, I'm going to show you how to make a double-sided plushie that turns from an egg into a baby dragon. This is the most challenging plushie I've ever made, so I really hope you'll enjoy the tutorial. With Easter coming up, this is a great design that can also be adapted for all kinds of animals, such as a chicken or a bunny. I decided to create a dragon because this video is kindly sponsored by Dragon Mania Legends. This is an epic game that's free to play, suitable for all ages, and has over 1 million fans on social media. I've included the link below, so be sure to join in on the fun. It takes place in a fantasy world, and you get to breed and train your own dragons, and there are over 600 species to collect. You also have to make sure to feed your dragons, build habitats for them, and create farms to harvest food. There's a battle system as well, where you can level up your dragons and win all kinds of treasure. The scope of Dragon Mania Legends is huge, and it's really rare to find a mobile game this size that you can play completely for free. Though of course, if you want to speed things up, then you can purchase purple gems which help you unlock different stages quicker. It's completely up to you, and the game does give you plenty of options to earn free gems or VIP tickets. So if you want to try Dragon Mania Legends, then just click the link below. As mentioned earlier, there are over 600 dragons, and you get a preview of the first few here. I fell in love with Pixie Dragon, and that's the one I'm going to turn into a plushie. To start with, we'll need some socks, and I strongly recommend using fluffy ones for this DIY. I got these from Amazon, and I was pleasantly surprised by the packaging. I've never seen vacuum-packed socks before, but this really does save a lot of space. I'm going to use this light and dark pink for the egg and the baby dragon. This DIY is slightly different to my other reversible plushies, so please watch carefully. Start by turning the sock inside out and press it flat as if you're making a normal plushie. Draw an outline for the head, and you can also add ears at this point, depending on what kind of animal you want to create. Then backstitch it on the line, cut it out, and create a hole to turn the sock the right way round. Now stuff the head, and I'm also going to add a small ball to make the nose of the dragon. I usually advise people to use more stuffing than you think you need when making plushies, but in this case you want to keep things slightly loose. Grab the sock you want to use for the egg and turn that inside out. Place it over your hand and push it inside the first sock like this. Now start adding a layer of stuffing between the two socks until you get a nice round shape. The big difference here is that we're creating a plushie that's egg-shaped on one side, but has a head and body on the other side. This is different to my other reversible DIYs, which were egg-shaped on both sides and therefore easier to make. This design was so tricky that I was a bit worried whether it would work at all. However, after sewing the edge together and flipping it a few times, I felt that this could end up okay. I'm going to start with the baby dragon side and use the remaining sock fabric to make a tail. If you're making this as a reversible plushie, then you want to keep the details as flat as possible. So I'm not going to use any stuffing here because any additional volume will affect the shape of the plushie from the other side. Though of course, if you want to make this dragon on its own without any flipping, then feel free to add more stuffing in any place you want. The tip of the tail looks like a flower bud, so I'm going to create a small pouch using green sock fabric and then sew this into place. Then I'm drawing and sewing two L shapes for arms. These look a bit like Christmas stockings, and you want to cut a hole at the very top like this and use it to turn it the right way round. I gave these a very tiny bit of stuffing and attached them into place. Pixie Dragon has green claws, so I cut out some tiny leaf shapes from the green sock. I realized that fluffy sock fabric falls apart easily, so this step was very fiddly to do. For really small details, I'd recommend using felt fabric, needle felt, or even paint. Making the eyes was another challenge because these are classic manga-style chibi eyes that cover a large area of the face. In order for the plushie to stay reversible, every part of the head needs to be as soft and as flexible as possible. I was originally planning to make the eyes using clay and then glaze them to make it shiny, which is possible if you're not making a reversible plush. Though in this case I decided to change plans and use the white sock fabric as the base. First I'm cutting out the eye shape freehand because I don't want the fabric getting dirty from pen marks. When sewing raw fabric edges like this, try to make your stitches as small and as close together as possible. This greatly reduces the amount of fluffy bits that fall out, which can be quite annoying when you're working with this type of sock fabric. Now I'm sketching the outline of the eye onto paper to make a template. This method lets you create extremely detailed manga-style eyes for your plushies instead of just using beads or buttons. After cutting it out, I'm going to trace it onto black felt fabric using a dressmaker's pencil. I need a lot of precision here, and this pencil was the thinnest one I could find that still shows up on black. It's not perfect, but it's enough for me to do the rest freehand. First I cut out the inner part of the eye and then trimmed the edges with scissors to make the lines even thinner. Then I'm taking a piece of green felt and placing all the black on top so I can make the iris. Next we're going to make a gradient using acrylic paint. I'm using some dark brown to create the darker shade, followed by a touch of black. I'm always very careful when using black acrylic paint because it can easily overpower everything, but it often gives a piece that final touch of depth. And lastly, I'm adding a tiny bit of highlight to the lower side. Now we can simply layer everything together using craft glue. Take care not to pull too hard because any part of the felt that's less than 2 mm wide can easily rip. Because this is going to be a reversible plushie, every single piece needs to be very firmly attached to withstand the force when you're flipping it. So make sure you apply glue inside every tiny gap and crack so there are no loose edges on any part of the eye. As a final finishing touch, I'm going to paint on a highlight for the pupil using acrylic paint. For best results, make sure the shine spot overlaps the black part of the pupil and extends outwards until it just touches the white part of the eye. I'm really happy with how this turned out, and I think you can use this technique to make all kinds of manga or anime inspired plushies. Next, I made 2 hair shapes using the same basic technique as for the tail and arms. If you're making a non-reversible plushie, then needle felt is a great way to make details such as hair and horns. That's what I used in these 2 videos here. However, because we need to keep everything as soft as possible in this one, I'm going to make all the details using sock fabric. When it came to making the wings, I decided to simplify the design a lot because flat things get easily crumpled inside a double plushie. I sketched out a few ideas and tried to keep these as minimalist as possible. In the end, I decided to go with a shape that's based on this inner part of Pixie Dragon's wing. I'm going to use the same paper template method from the eyes, so I'm cutting this out and then tracing it onto felt fabric. For the transparent part of the wings, I decided to use these organza bags, which you can find in loads of craft or discount shops. They're often used as wedding favor gift bags. The fabric is easy to work with and really see-through. Be sure to keep the ribbons as well because these are perfect for making hooks to turn small plushies into charms or keyrings. First, trace the wing shape 4 times, making sure that 2 of them are flipped around. Then cut the same shape out of organza fabric. Carefully glue everything together, making sure that the ink outlines are facing inwards. Pixie Dragon actually has pale green wings, so I'm going to make this more fairy-like using some glitter glue. I'm simply applying a tiny drop on one side and then spreading it out with a toothpick. Once this is completely dry, sew both wings onto the plushie. Now the dragon side is finished, and I was a bit nervous whether this would actually turn back into an egg. I was pleasantly surprised that it actually worked better than before because the extra details on the dragon side helped to bulk out the plushie and make the egg look rounder. However, it's still important not to add too much stuffing on one side, otherwise this is going to get hard to flip. The decorations for the pixie dragon egg are easy to make. The top part has a rosebud which you can sew out of some scrap pink sock fabric. Then cut a jagged strip out of green sock fabric and wrap this around the flower. You're going to get a lot of fluffy bits here, so be sure to attach this using small neat stitches. Then sew the flower onto the egg. To make the cherry blossoms, cut out 5 circles from a double layer of sock fabric. Take one and sew a running stitch around the outside. Then pull it tight so you have a small round ball and add a few more stitches to secure the opening. Now repeat the whole process using another circle and keep going until you have 5 round petals in a row. Lastly, just bend these into a ring and join the ends together to make a flower. You can actually complete all of these steps using a single thread and attach it onto the egg as well. The pixie dragon egg also has green vines swirling on it, and I thought about how to make these for so long, but I genuinely couldn't come up with a good method. The problem's the flipping, because that pulls the surface in all directions, so very thin details are going to get ripped or distorted. In the end, I decided to leave it like this, and I'm still really happy with how it turned out. This was the most complicated plushie I've ever made, and I ended up trying out several new methods that I've never done before. I hope you also found it interesting and might feel inspired to adapt this for your own DIYs. A big thanks to Dragon Mania Legends for sponsoring this video, and be sure to check out the free download link below. I'm Joanna, thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye!